with the shadows on the bedroom wall, silhouettes of memories that I can't recall, trying to be ready for the call, trying not to fall, ready for the landfall, rolling way too slow to win this human race, gotta travel light through this desirable maze, the miles are leaving traces on my face, signs of falling grace, filling up the empty space, but heaven knows I'm getting so much better every day, yeah baby, can't you see, it's easy as ABC, we will carry one another on this path, yeah, even though my feet are barely finding solid ground, I'm getting much closer now, we'll find a way somehow, we prepare one another to the landfall, until the landfall.
Well, here we are in Cork, which is Southern Ireland. It's in County Cork for those who want to know. Fantastic fishing here. But there's two things you need to do if you want to go shore fishing, because there's so many options and so many different species.
Yeah, I mean, we've got shore fishing options here. You've got bass, mullet, wrasse, mackerel. Pretty much almost most of the shore fish that we get in the UK, you'll definitely get over here in Southern Ireland. We've also got the option of the pier down here at Corkmac, right by the Corkmac Angling Centre. We've had some cracking conger fishing off that pier, and again we've had some bass and mullet off there too.
Yeah.
So the options are endless, really, aren't they?
And then what you need to do is, when you go shore fishing, is you're going to need worms and water. First thing to do is some worms. And if you can see this vast mud flat, which is just really here in town, right in front of the Corkmac Hotel, down the hill from Wood Point, where we're staying up with Mark and Trish Gannon, there's plenty of lugworm casts. Boy, you should see some of these casts. We're going to be doing just straight open trench digging, and we'll give it a crack and see if we can't get some bait. And then that opens up a whole world of options of shore fishing for us. Now, there's no shortage of worm casts here. It's like, well, the surface of the moon, really. But you think, well, if I'm a beginner, where do I start? Well, listen. You start with one of these, add some of that, that's right. Bit of elbow grease. It's not easy, it's hard work. The more you put in, hopefully, the more you get out. But starting, me personally, I don't like this sort of silkweed or whatever it is that's all over the mud flat here. I don't like that. I like to dig somewhere down here that's clear and open, plenty of worm casts, and basically, I'm not digging for an individual worm, I'm just starting a trench and hoping I sort of stumble across them.
My feet are barely finding solid ground, I'm getting much closer now.
Try and invest in one of these. They don't come cheap, but I'll tell you what, they save my back. There you go. Off you go, son.
Cheers, Dad.
That's what you're here for.
We're rolling way too fast to just enjoy the ride, feeling too much hunger to stay bona fide, lonely in a crowd we abide, petrified we could be unified, but heaven knows I'm getting so much better every day, yeah baby, can't you see, it's easy as ABC.
Now, because there's two of us, and we've got valuable fishing time that we don't want to waste, as soon as you get tired, switch with your buddy and get digging. There's a nice one. Switch with your buddy, get digging straight away. The other thing you want to do, which is a good tip, as you dig here, rather than lift it up and dump it straight down, chuck it sideways and along, and that way you get much more chance of actually seeing the worm. Because if you just dump it up and then straight down, you get a big mound and you don't actually see what's underneath it. So try and cast the sand over a long area, and then you might be able to find the odd worm a little bit easier. Just keep it shallow. You don't necessarily have to go too deep.
One of the things you want to do when you are digging on the beach is, just out of courtesy, try and backfill the worst of those holes. Somebody might come and trip in them, you don't know. Obviously, most of the time, the first tide that comes in washes it all back into the hole, it all levels off, everybody's happy. But just out of courtesy, not the worst of it, level it out a bit.
Oh, go.
Ready?
Yeah, keep digging, lift him. Yeah. Where's the...
Right, what I've done here is I've started to make just a straight trench the width of this, just one spit. I pick up worms or I don't pick up worms. But what I'm going to do now is coming from the side, because you'll find if you look here, it's easier to break into the second time around. I've already broken this open, so for me to get a fork in there and just lever backwards like this, it's much easier than, you know, digging a whole one out. So my suggestion, my way, is I dig a bit of a trench, 6 or 8 feet long, and then I break into that trench from the side, and I find it's much easier just to push the fork in. I don't need to put my foot on it or anything. I just work your way along. Now when the tide's flooding, you're going to find it starts to fill up. Now back here where it's already starting to fill up, you can actually see it creeping in. So what you want to try and do is to keep that clear all the time, so you're not digging in water. Otherwise, you know, you're going to miss the worms every time. There we go. There's a nice Irish lugworm. Going to put them in the bait tin ready, and then we're going to wash them off. If you get them bust with a fork like this, don't worry, most species will still eat them. I just leave it. Oh, here we go, here we go. Now this one, let's ease out very slowly. Don't want to snap it. Let's wash him off. That one there, put him down for you. It's like a white rag. I'm not even sure they're across, but you can see how they move. They've got a lot of movement, and the matchman particularly, they probably put, say, a lugworm on, and then they'll tip it off with a half or a whole one of these rag, because they get more movement at the end. They say it's very, very good for flatfish. So that one can go in as well. Yeah, it's not fake, it's totally awesome. Look at the size of, oh my God, it's a double whammy. Oh, I love it. Let's get them washed off. There now, they're washed off. You can see these are what we call regular blow lug. They're not black lug. They're sort of, what colour would you call this? A sort of greeny colour there and a little bit of red in it. That's a regular blow lug. Very, very good. They don't keep more than really a couple of days. You have to put them in paper to keep them dried out. They're good fresh. When you get them fresh like this, do not, if you're digging near a stream, wash them in the fresh water of the stream. That will kill them. You need to rinse them in seawater, and then just keep them in your bait tub, and when you get, you know, ready to use them, you put them in paper to soak any excess moisture up. That is an ideal bait for bass in a surf beach, flounders in an estuary, wrasse absolutely love them, and of course anything else that's swimming around are not going to turn their noses up at a bait like that. Right here guys, the tide's pouring in. I'm just going to let that fill up in this little pool. It's absolutely roaring in here. Rinse off all the surplus, and do you know what, I'm actually going to leave them in here until I get back up to Wood Point and put them in some paper. I'm going to then strain all this off. Watch sure you don't lose any worms in there. Don't worry about the busted ones. Give them another rinse off, freshen them up, and there you go. Look at that. You could not ask for better prime bait, and we hopefully will be able to show you a fish later on with them. Lovely. Right, now here's a totally awesome tip, guys. When you're turning this over, you need to grab, not the sandeel, don't grab the sandal. When you're turning over like this, they're going flick, 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 flick. You'll see them dancing on the sand if it's not too wet. If it's wet, they're gone anyway. Look, let's pretend I'm going to see one. I go, one, grab it. Don't try and pick up the sandal like this with your tips of your fingers. It ain't happening. They're called quicksilver for a reason. They bury straight in anything that's got a bit of moisture. They're, if you like the predator prey, they think something's after them. They're going deep in the sand. They are called a sand eel. So grab a handful of grit around them. That will give you enough of a, if you like, abrasion that they won't slip out your fingers. Squash them up like that. Put that in your bucket or your bowl of water, because the grit sinks to the bottom. The sand eels come out and they just lay it or bury in there. You can sort the grit out later. You'll probably miss every one if you try and pick it up with your fingers. Okay, now it's almost impossible to dig sand eels on your own because it's so fast. Your reactions have to be like grease lightning. But if you are on your own, you'll find it easier if you roll that shovel of sand onto the hard sand behind you. There's just a, I want to say a millisecond. There's a half a second before that eel will go back down through the sand. It just gives you a chance to grab them. If you throw them on the loose stuff on your own, you probably won't get them. So roll that spit of gravel over and toss it onto the hard, smooth gravel behind you, and you'll see them dancing around. Grab them, the same method I said, a load of grit round there, put them in the live bait tank. Another totally awesome tip is don't walk up to these gravel bars and walk on top of the bar itself where the hump comes down, where the tides run over. That's where they're going to be, because they come up from down tide and they bury into the back of that hump. So your first few forkfuls need to be in the back end, the trailing end, the downside of the gravel bar or the gravel hump. And then you start turning it over. You might get 2 rows if you like, so you might do 1 long row of spits, the width of the fork, and the second one is worth a go after that. If you go too far up into the gravel bar, I feel, my personal experience will be that they felt the vibration of the fork in the first 2, they've gone down deep, you'll never get them out. So it's most important the first 2 digs, you know, the 2 rows you get are the fast ones. Turn them over fast. You're trying to surprise that sand eel and get him up, spot him, grab him as fast as you can. Okay, another tip that is here is look for the different grades of gravel, because the tide here, don't forget, the best of sand eel digging is on a low water spring tide, because that goes out as far, you know, as you're ever going to walk on a spring tide. That's the bottom end of the tidal scale, but also it's very powerful, so it makes a lot of scours, and the ridges should be more pronounced. And you can see this by the different types of shingle and gravel, a sort of delineating line between the fine gravel which they like and the bigger stones which haven't got washed away. They're just tumbled over in the back end of it, if you like. It's like a little overfall, little bank of an overfall and current. That's another tip. But don't forget, you've got to get the tides right. On a neap tide, which doesn't go in and out very far, the gravel bars might not be exposed. You're looking for low water spring tides. They're the ones to go digging out there for your sand eels. Now if I can catch one of these in the bucket, this is the small size that the majority of mackerel, small bass, small pollock will eat. If you can see that one there, that's about what? Whoa! That one is about 3 inches long. That's about the size that most small to medium fish will be eating all the time. And if you think about it, that there is about the length of a traditional feather that we use to catch the fish. And that is what mackerel feathers are supposed to represent, is a thin sliver of sand eel like that one there. On the other hand, if you want bigger fish like bass, we have dug up the Godzilla of sand eels. This one is definitely a bass and a pollock. Look at that. That is an absolute beautiful bait. Now you can keep those alive or you can drop them, but as you can see here, we've got him on hard sand. He can't get down, he can't dig, he can't get into that, whereas he can get into the gravel. I'll just show him to you there. You can have a good look, wash them off. You know what's a live sand eel, and that's dug, that's not bought. We've dug it ourselves, and that's a perfect bait. You can either go through both eye sockets with a single hook, you can go in the bottom of the jaw, bring it out and nick in the belly of the hook here, belly of the below the organs. You don't want to kill it, you want it live, and that is deadly for pollock and bass. That's the ultimate bait. That one must be, I guess, what, 5 inches long, that one. he's dancing like that, grab the sand around it like this and grip it. Grab the whole sand around the eel to give you the, you know, the actual bit of grip for grip to hold it, and then just drop it into your tank like that, or your live bait bucket, container, whatever you're going to use. And if you are transporting them, it doesn't hurt to leave some gravel in the bottom there. Now these are going to need to be in a much bigger bucket, and they're going to need to have an aeration pump. You can get those from your tackle shops. And what you'll find is if you've got gravel in the bottom, they're more calm. They bury in that gravel and they'll stay alive longer. So there's the tip, and that's how to dig sand eels with a fork on a beach at low tide.